Welcome to another episode of America's Rail Stations. Choo choo! So welcome to the Lititz Rail Station. We have a whole bunch of history here, really cool stuff about the things that are around there and the station itself. So enjoy.
Got a cool caboose here. We're actually a rail station, Wilbur Chocolates right there. It's pretty neat, like downtown. Hey everybody, so we are here at the Lititz Rail Station. This is right next here to the Wilbur Chocolate Company building where the factory was. They do some stuff over there as well. This is actually a rebuilt version of the original station. The original station would have been over there, and that would have been like 1863 when the Reading Company came through. The station that was here, it was land leased for 999 years by the Moravian Church because they were the ones that took care of the park and everything, and they leased it to the Reading Company, and they did that, I believe, 1883. Now it was torn down. I have to look at the exact date. I'll have that for you guys later in the video when I do a little more history on this, because there's a lot of cool history for this station. This was rebuilt though in 1999, the dedication ceremony, and they built it exactly like the station would have been back when it was here. And they did a phenomenal job in rebuilding this and having this here for people to enjoy. This is now the Lititz Welcome Center, so you can come in here, you can check it out. They actually have a caboose museum over there, but it's just so neat seeing something that was put back here like it should be in Lititz. And it's just a cool thing. You have the Lititz Spring Park here that we did a video on, and there's just so much history. It's just a really cool Moravian community. Linden Hall is here. We'll visit that at some point. It's an all-girls school. Has a tremendous amount of history. Town of Lititz has a tremendous amount of history, and it's one of those towns. Come and visit. This is an extraordinary place, and this is so cool. But yeah, here they have 1884 replica of the Lititz Passenger Depot and Express Station. That was 1999. I believe it was torn down either in the 60s or the 70s, but I just want to give you a good look at the station. But I'll have more information for you guys about this station and its significance and the history of it.
Alright, so we're going to give this history of this railroad that operated through Lititz, the line, and the rail station itself. So the Columbia, there's a Reading and Columbia Railroad Company. They started with Philadelphia and Reading Railroad Company in 1833 by an act of Pennsylvania legislature. This is all part of a complex story that began locally in 1857 with generated interest in a railroad between Reading and Columbia. That was the combination of Columbia and Reading. A group of influential citizens from Lancaster and Berks counties secured passage of a charter creating the Reading and Columbia Railroad Company, which was signed by the Governor James Pollock on May 19th of 1857. By 1860, a survey was brought through the area, and the location of the Reading and Columbia route was completed. It was decided that Sinking Springs, where a connection could be made with the Lebanon Valley Railroad would be the starting point, and the line would run by the way of Reinhold, Stevens, Ephrata, and Akron, Millway, Rossville, Lititz, Mannheim, Landisville, and on to Columbia, a distance of 39.8 miles. Although the major construction was started at the Columbia end of the line, the actual groundbreaking of the Reading and Columbia was done on March 28, 1861, at the Gap in the South Mountains, about 4 miles south of Sinking Spring. The first Lititz passenger depot and express station was located on the north side of the tracks along Broad Street, which is the present site of the Wilbur Chocolate Company. So it's either where the building is now, the big Wilbur Chocolate Company factory, or over there where they had the store, which I think it's more from what they were saying. It sounded like that's where it was, like I had pointed the camera over. The depot, they actually had a depot there as well, was dedicated December 26, 1863, with the arrival of the first passenger train. Ceremonies began with a welcome speech by John Beck, the headmaster of the boys' school. Mr. Beck was answered by a pompous railroad official making a speech about prosperity and the hope for peaceful future. And then they had Bishop Edmund A. Deschwitz of the Lititz Moravian congregation offered a prayer of the dedicating of the Reading and Columbia Railroad to a promise of progress for Lititz and the surrounding countryside. So, following the completion of the railroad between Columbia and Sinking Springs, a special train carrying officials and invited guests made their way from for a first trip from Columbia to Reading on March 15, 1864. And then a morning train from Reading and an afternoon train from Columbia inaugurated the first regular passenger train schedule between Columbia and Reading on April 1st, 1864. Now, on March 8th of 1884, the Lititz Moravian congregation leased a small parcel of land of 200 feet by 30 feet, situated on the northeast corner of the Lititz Spring Park grounds, to the Reading and Columbia Railroad Company for a term of 999 years. Weird, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. But a passenger depot in Victorian Gothic architecture designed by Frank Furness of Philadelphia was erected. Bricks used in the construction of the depot were manufactured in Lititz. At the same time, 2 bridges were built across the Lititz Creek, one to enter the depot and park grounds, and the other. So on Monday, December 1st, 1884, the new red brick depot and express station was open to the public. They had 6 passenger trains every day on their route between Reading or Columbia, or from Reading and Columbia. They also earned extra revenue by subsidizing the mail and railway express items that the trains carried. There was a D.E. Light, who was the ticket agent and operator, and J.T. Zell was the freight agent. Around 1899, heavy industry started to arrive in Lititz. The same year, streetcars ran for the first time to the Reading and Columbia depot. Also, because of the depot, the 4th of July celebrations wound out attracting much more people. In 1919, it was decided to renovate the 1884 depot by adding a freight house and moving the platform to the east side of the depot. This was never done. However, because of the needed space for freight operations, a freight house and office was built in 1921 along the South Water Street by the Hershey and Lehman Company of Lititz. By now, the Philadelphia and Reading Company, which operated the Reading and Columbia, was merged with the Reading Company in 1923. The Reading Company assumed the operation of the Reading and Columbia Railroad, but the Reading and Columbia still retained its corporate existence. It was not until December 31st, 1945, that the Reading and Columbia Railroad Company was merged with the Reading Company, after which the Reading and Columbia as a corporate identity ceased to exist. Upon the demise of the passenger service, the Reading Company no longer required a passenger depot erected on the land leased from the Lititz Moravian congregation. So on August 24th, 1953, the 999-year agreement lease was terminated. The last complete passenger train to pass through Lititz was on October 28, 1952 at 11:11 a.m. A special train carrying presidential candidate Adlai E. Stevenson. Well, that's pretty cool. In 1863, or the 1863 depot was demolished for the building of the Ideal Cocoa and Chocolate Company factory, now Wilbert Chocolate Company. And the 1884 passenger depot and freight station was demolished in May of 1957 to make way for construction of a modern entrance to Lititz Springs Park through the generosity of an Elmer H. Bopst, who provided $100,000 for improvements to the park. Now, on April 1st, 1976, the bankrupt Reading Company ceased being an operating railroad, ending 143 years of railroading. The golden era of the Reading and Columbia Railroad is gone, but a certain spirit feeling of the good old days will continue to linger on in the years to come, especially with the construction and dedication on May 8, 1999 for the replica of the 1884 Lititz Passenger Depot and Express Station on the same northeast corner within Lititz Spring Parks that stands today. This is the history of the Lititz rail station. It's very, very cool. Learned a lot of stuff just like you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I want to say thank you. As always, for coming along, and I will mention there is that caboose. I'm trying to edit that in to get it into this video as well, and I will have a little bit of a surprise here at the very end of the video. Something came along right when I was there. I thought it was pretty neat, but the caboose, I'm not sure when that exactly is open. I'll have to see if I can list that in the comments, but it is a cool little museum. How much is actually there or not, it was closed on the day I was here. But neat place. Thanks for coming along, everybody. And as always, I will say we will see you all about town.
So this is just sort of happenstance. Trains coming through here. I add this on to the rail station, Norfolk Southern. It's only carrying a couple things, but something about trains.